So often people will say to me, you need to be rich to start investing, and that is simply not the case. Ultimately, financial planning isn't really about money, and that might come as a surprise. It really is about the structure, the plan, the goal, the mindset, working out where you want to go. And then from there, thinking about how are you going to get to that end point. And sometimes that can involve putting money to work, or it might be rearranging your assets, or it might be changing your spending habits. There's so many factors that come into it. But ultimately, it's about knowing where you are and building a plan. And that doesn't necessarily take the requirement to have wealth. What it does enable you to do is once you've put those foundations in place, you naturally start to build good habits, which leads to the generation of wealth and the ability to accumulate and grow personally from where you are. And I cannot recommend it enough that you take the time to really put a plan in place when building your finances. So sometimes people will think, oh my goodness, I've got debts, that's super bad. But actually, there are sometimes good debts and then there are bad debts. So a good debt is what I would describe as a way that you are leveraging yourself to better yourself. So that could be getting on the property ladder and getting a mortgage, or it could be, utilizing something like a 0% credit card because it helps you to achieve a goal, whether it be a holiday or a renovation work or whatever it may be. But you also then have a plan in place to pay that back. So it's allowing you to spread your spending and leverage yourself to help you to grow to whatever you're looking to do without negatively impacting you financially. But the key thing there is it's about managing the debt, because when you have bad debts, which is debt that is high interest, so high interest credit cards and payday loans, for example, then you can quickly slip into bad habits that significantly negatively impact your financial planning. So, debt, not all debt is bad, but it's the type of debt that you take on, it's the strategy that you have in place to pay back that debt, and it's the way that you take accountability for the debts that you have put in place. This is a great point. So sometimes I get told, oh, I've got a credit card, so I don't need an emergency fund. And that really makes me nervous. And I think in a society where we are constantly online looking at other people's lifestyles and wanting to kind of better ourselves and leverage ourselves a lot, sometimes we can forget about the foundations and the emergency funds and all the kind of basic boring elements because we're so focused on wealth creation or the perception that we're living a certain type of life. And that's a very slippery slope. And so something I would say is that, credit cards can be really useful. They can bring good rewards. They can be good for air miles. They can help you build a great credit rating, but they've got to be managed. And, high interest credit cards that you're not able to pay off is not going to have a positive impact on your finances. And if you are in that situation, then you should be thinking about ways that you can reduce the amount of interest, maybe move to 0% interest credit cards and so forth to help manage that situation. The emergency fund is really key to building wealth in the longer term, and that should be through cash savings or having liquid assets that you can draw upon if unforeseen circumstances arise. So it is really important that you do build some form of emergency fund and savings pot when considering your financial goals. So sometimes people say to me, oh, I've spoken to you, I've ticked that box and all of my finances are now sorted, or I've had a conversation about it and that's enough. And actually there's a lot more work that goes into getting your financial plan, keeping on top of your financial plan, regularly reviewing it and adjusting it to your circumstances. So it isn't a tick box exercise, unfortunately. There's no magic wand that makes all of our finances kind of fall into order and get us to our end goal. Ultimately, you get out what you put in. And so what we need to focus on now is thinking about what are your goals, what are your objectives, what do you have to play with, and how can we make your money work as hard as you do to earn it. Hopefully you found that video useful and it's given you some food for thought for your own financial planning journeys.